Good morning. My name is Tom. Welcome to my cabin. I come to you from Northern Maine. I had a viewer ask me to do a few videos on the state of Maine. His name is Doug. He's been a long-time supporter of this, so good morning, Doug. This was a great topic. So what I'm having breakfast here this morning. So welcome to the great state of Maine, and more importantly, welcome to my cabin. I'm having home fries and eggs this morning. I am getting ready. They said it was going to rain today, so one of the things you need to know about the state of Maine is the weather forecast very rarely is right. And it's probably not their fault. It's just that's the way the state of Maine is. Weather fronts come and weather fronts go and all that. But the reason I brought you out here for breakfast this morning is because one of the things about Maine, and maybe it's like it is with you, but I wanted to talk about Northern Maine this morning and why I spend so much time at this cabin and why I wanted a cabin in Northern Maine. First of all, you're having breakfast with me. I don't believe there's probably a house up here that you could knock on the door at 7 o'clock in the morning, and if they were cooking breakfast, they'd say, come on in, I'll throw a couple more eggs in the pan, and we'll have breakfast together, and we'll definitely have coffee together. I mean, I grew up that way. I don't know, anytime I've ever stopped in at somebody's house at mealtime, I don't care if they were a complete stranger or a friend, I was invited to sit down and have supper. And I did. Because, number one, it's kind of insulting to say no, unless you absolutely don't have the time to stay. But Northern Maine, to me, and maybe this will be the way you feel, if you're coming in here from Massachusetts, or you're coming in here from wherever, Connecticut, wherever you're coming to Maine from, and maybe if you got just a southern Maine, you would feel like you're stepping back in time, like 30 years. Now for me, when I come to Northern Maine, I feel like I'm stepping back in time. Back to when I was a teenager. Because so much of the practices up here are exactly the way they was 30 years ago. The high-tech technology of everybody's lives haven't made it up here. Stuff like that. I mean, the people up here are still gardening. You know, on my channel, it's all self-reliant, all of that. Well, up here, I'm a dime a dozen. Up here, everybody is self-reliant. Beagle wants some breakfast. Up here in Northern Maine, you know, the great state of Maine, they wear 2 or 3 different hats. Now, if you don't know what that means, 2 or 3 different hats, it means jobs. There's work if you want to work. It's everywhere. It's all over the state of Maine. There's a lot of work. You come up here and you want to work, you will find a job. But up here in Northern Maine, the jobs are probably more seasonal. Maybe it's because of the winter, deep snow and all of that. But you could see a guy driving a sand truck today, and tomorrow you could see him driving a welding truck or a wrecker or anything. I mean, it's what he's doing for a living. Let's see, where was I? Oh yeah, I was at the lumber yard up here in Holton, and a couple weeks later, I went to the town office where my cabin is. And the guy at the lumber yard behind the counter was the guy at the town office behind the counter. So that's how they make a living up here in Northern Maine. From what I can gather, I still consider myself an outsider, even though I am a Mainer. But the people are very friendly. The people that I've met anyways are very friendly. Some a little strange. I needed my driveway plowed 12 years ago. Long story. Anyways, the guy I had lined up had a really bad car accident, so he actually lost his legs in that car accident. So that was a bummer for him, but so I had to find somebody that was going to plow. I thought, anyways, that winter, find somebody who's going to plow my driveway. I think, yeah, that was the very first winter I came here. So I had bought some firewood to get me started, because leading up to me, we had jacked the cabin up, put in a driveway, put in a well, and I hadn't got any firewood into the woodshed at all. So I ordered, so there's a guy a couple miles from here that sells firewood, so I got my firewood from him that year. Couple cord of hardwood. And then just before winter, I caught him driving by on the road there, so I flagged him down and asked him if he would plow my driveway. So he thinks for a minute, scratches his forehead, and he says, "Oh yeah," he said, "you bought some firewood from me. I'll plow your driveway." So my thought was, if I hadn't have bought that firewood, maybe he wouldn't have plowed my driveway. Now, it works out that I never had him plow my driveway, but nothing against him. I got myself a snowblower up here, and with a little bit of hard work, I was able to keep the place open up. So, that's what I mean by maybe a little strange. But the electrical guy can be the plumbing guy. I mean, it's just, the list goes on and on. I guess I better give the dog a piece. And because we're on this great state of Maine reflection, or whatever you want to call it, this is actually episode 2. The first one's coming out today, New Year's. Well, it'll be out tomorrow, New Year's Day. I thought that'd be a great time to launch that series. I'll work on it for a little while and see how you guys are liking it. But the only thing that I really don't like about the state of Maine is the government. I love everything else. And it's because of the way people vote. You know. I guess for 40 years now, maybe longer, the state's always voted Democratic. And that bugs the heck out of me. So I don't like the way they vote. And I don't like the welfare program. I think that we're too easy. I think that we're just making sure people are comfortable enough that they don't want to work, the ones that don't want to work. But I have a feeling that's not the case up here. Now, I could be wrong, and some of my viewers are from up here, so you can let me know in the comments. I do know that we're suffering from the same problems that the rest of the United States is, and that seems to be drugs. And I'm pretty sure Northern Maine is. Again, I don't live here, but I can only go by what I see on the news and stuff like that. But I'm pretty sure Northern Maine is a problem area. And that's not to say it's any worse than any other part of the state. You would just hope that it wasn't, but I think amongst the young people that it probably is. But I don't do that stuff. I can't understand why people do. When there's so much good stuff to do here, I mean fishing, hunting, snowmobiling, four-wheeling, you name it. Working hard, going to bed tired at night, eating a good meal. You know, the list goes on and on and on. But, so that's my take on Northern Maine. Same thing with the fishing up here. The fishing is great. And my estimation is probably the best moose hunting, and we're going to get into that in some of these other videos about the state of Maine. But I think that the moose hunting up here is probably the best in the state. The deer hunting, there's other parts of the state that are much better than Northern Maine. And it's basically because of deer per square mile. And that's really the nuts and bolts of it. Deer per square mile in Southern Maine. Western Maine is a lot more deer per square mile than what you'll find in Northern Maine. It has to do with a couple of things. 3 things, actually. It has to do with snow. The snow depth up here by March can be 6 feet of snow in the woods, 7 feet of snow in the woods. So that's hard on the deer population. When the snow is deep, that's when the deer are really at risk of being taken down by coyotes. And the other thing is starvation. And just plain lack of food. I think I said 3 or 4. But their lack of food, be able to get to where the food source is. And I read something somewhere where the deer will yard up in the same place every winter just because that's the way they were taught. Even if there's not enough food there. So that's not very good for them. But the deer population around this cabin has really taken a hit. I believe from deep snow and coyotes. We still got deer. It's just I've been studying the deer here for 12 years. Since I bought the place. Mainly because of the winter and them yarding up. And we don't have the same deer population yarding up. Took my fingers that time. We don't have the same deer population yarding up that we had 12 years ago out here around this cabin. So that's what I'm judging my numbers by. And now we got the state messing with stuff again. Who knows? Like I said, I really don't like the government part of the state. But probably from where you're coming from, if you're looking at the state of Maine, probably the way we govern things is a lot less than what you're accustomed to. So maybe you would be alright with it. I'm just not. But nothing new there. So this video, I wanted to bring you in for breakfast. I wanted to talk about Northern Maine. Next time we sit down, I will talk about some other part of the state of Maine. We've got some great places. What I don't know a lot about is the tourist stuff. Tourist trap parts of the state, I know where they are. And I know a little bit about them, but I have never spent much on the much time on the tourist end of things. So if that's what you're looking to get out of this series, you're probably not going to find it. Other than I can talk to you about where they are, so that you can avoid them and stay away from them if you're looking for that side of Maine or that part of Maine. I'm just not a touristy kind of guy. So you guys have a great cup of coffee with me. Thank you for stopping by the cabin this morning for coffee and stepping back in time a little bit. That's the joy of owning a cabin. Stepping back in time and just plain enjoying. So, hey, I'll see you next week.